his head hit that wall.
Accidentally.
All right? It might have been accidentally, I don't know.
Or it might have been when
you take it, well, we don't know that.
Yeah, I'm asking if it's plausible.
I don't know. It's definitely plausible. You know, but that's.
But if they did,
it would take that kind of a blow. Is what I'm saying.
I hear your point, but I also hear Mark's point. Mark's point is if they were to have done that, slammed his head into the wall to get him to shut up or whatever they were trying to do, would that classify as police brutality?
I would say yes if he was handcuffed.
Well, we weren't handcuffed.
I think basically what's happened is that, you know, they're involved in this struggle. You know, this is all just speculation on my part here because none of us know the facts that happened in this case. Although it is a little disturbing, you got a 20-minute gap there when they gave him a stop, you know, before they made it to the station house. I'm really kind of wondering what's going on. When they picked him up off the ground, you could see he could not walk. But then, when he was up on the van, he was standing by himself.
And that's what the police are pointing to. That's the frame that I showed his attorney just a few moments ago. They're saying, well, look, when he's being dragged down the street, he can't move his legs at all, as you see right there in that picture. But then, when he's on the edge of the van, he's standing up.
Right. And that could be good for the cops or bad for the cops.
Well, that's exactly right. That's my point.
Exactly. It could be the injury happened in the van.
Absolutely. There are a lot of gaps here. But one thing, and yet we don't know what's in the officer's heads, right? You never know what's in the officer's heads or anyone else's head. You can never say to this person, unless they explicitly say, I'm doing this because you're black. But police never grab your head and slam it into a wall and say, I'm doing it because you're black. They never break your spine and say, I'm doing this because you're black. But there are high crime white neighborhoods.
You can't make an assumption it's because he's black that we're going to stop. In a black neighborhood, who else are you going to stop? It's a high crime neighborhood with his drugs.
But that presumes that somebody has to get beaten or abused in a high crime neighborhood. Even if everybody's black, you can still just not abuse people. The argument, I wouldn't feel bad if a white guy got abused.
I agree with you 100%. I don't think he should be abused.
Right. But this evidence suggests that he may have been.
Well, we don't
that he likely would. Right?
We don't know.
You think he just had a rare spinal meltdown in the middle of a...
Apparently not, but apparently it might have happened during the takedown. It's a possibility this happened during the takedown. All right? But I am concerned about the 20 minutes, all right, in the back of that van. It could have happened then, and there would have been a blow with something like a nightstick or some kind of an instrument to be able to sustain the injuries he did.
Yeah. And you don't find it curious that even in high crime white neighborhoods, this stuff doesn't happen with the level of regularity that it happens?
Of course it does, but we don't hear about it.
No, it doesn't. White guys aren't just turning up dead from police at the same rate that black people are. Every measurable statistic says otherwise.
Well, when you're looking at high crime areas, black, like in New York, I mean, who commits most of the crimes here in New York City?
The question...
All right, thank you very much.
Well,
we know. I mean,
that's not the point, though.
But does that justify violence against them, right?
I'm asking you.
Let me be clear. I'm not justifying any violence against somebody.
But you're saying who commits the crime, right? The number of people who commit a crime have nothing to do with the number of people who are dying at the hands of law enforcement. Even if every black person in America committed a crime, they still shouldn't be murdered by the police with their hands up. They still shouldn't be murdered in handcuffs. They shouldn't have
I agree with you 100%.
So pointing to criminality of black people is a red herring. That's not the point at all. The question here...
It's not.
The question is what...
That's just a rhetoric. It's just a talking point for your view. That's all it really is. There's no real statistics that actually tell you that white police officers are racist against black men.
But that's not the argument I'm making. So that
sort of is the argument you're making.
No, I'm fully capable of making the argument that I'm making. The argument that I'm making here is that black people die at the hands of law enforcement at a disproportionately high rate. I don't feel bad if the officer's black. All right, this isn't about white officers versus black people. It's about a police force that tends to over-criminalize and overly use brutality against black bodies. That's the concern.
There are more instances where white officers are involved with black criminals. That's why the number is so high. That is why. In fact, these officers aren't out there murdering people like you say.
I didn't say that at all. I didn't say officers out here murdering people.
We've had one murder, all right, in North Charleston.
This month.
What I'm saying, out of the millions and millions of instances, police officers...
But part of that is not because we actually now are getting this stuff caught on video.
Right, we are.
3 years ago, we didn't have that. Now we're seeing it because people actually filming it.
But his logic
doesn't mean it wasn't happening.
But his logic would suggest that the only person who died at the hands of law enforcement in a way that could be legally defined as murder is one we happen to catch on tape. I'm not willing to accept that.
No, that's your answer. That's not mine.
You just said we only had one. No, we only had one on tape.
We've had one.
One on tape. Do you think that's the only one that's happened?
We've got to go like...
Let me ask you honestly, do you think that's the only time that's happened? Let me ask you...
I cannot look at other cases right now. We're sitting here and I'm talking about this case, right? Listen, I don't have statistics in front of me.
But you
right
need
now,
them to
Mark.
make claims about what black and white people are doing.
You don't have them either.
I do have them. That's what I've been appealing to. I just told you that black people
Where are they? You're just saying that. I want to see
This is all verifiable.
All right, could I see them, please?
All right, I'll pull them out of my pocket. But let me ask
All right, thank you very
let me
much.
ask you a question. Do you think that that case in Charleston is the only incident of that sort?
That's the only one I have seen.
But I'm asking you your opinion. Do you think it's the only one of that sort? It's a yes or no question.
I don't know.
Right, and the fact, I guess that's
No,
mind-boggling to me.
you're making an assumption on your part.
No, I'm
All right?
looking at the trail of dead black people at the hands of law enforcement.
Show me case by case, please. I can't say it.
We got a great one right now.
I don't want to go by assumptions. Right now, we do not
Does it
know.
bother you, Harry? Look, I see both of your points here. But Harry, let me just say, does it bother you that just in the past few months, right, we've seen Eric Garner, we've seen Mike Brown, we've seen the case in North Charleston. Now we see Freddie Gray. That's four videos.
The officers acted correctly. No criminal charges against them. All right. So that case is out of the window.
It's
all right.
not out of the
as far as
window.
I'm concerned, it is out.
Well, by the grand jury,
even
point,
the
Mark,
grand jury,
by the grand jury.
But the fact is, we keep dying. We keep dying of things that are preventable.
All right.
Do you think Eric Garner was not preventable?
What was the catalyst for all this?
Police officers
What was the catalyst?
Police who use excessive force.
Resisting arrest.
That is not the catalyst.
And that right there, but right
That is
there,
absurd.
I'm going to keep you both here, but that right there is the key of this. How do you